Welcome to channel 654, the Poetry Channel.
We know everyone has been looking forward to this day, and it did come. Our first episode is out.
We are planning to talk about 5 poems today. And they are fruity delious and feeds your heart just by listening to them.
Here are the 5 poems we will talk about today. The first poem is called Fallen Apples by Tom Hansen. The second one is called Yellow Bowl by Rachel Contrini Flynn. The third poem is The Tropics of New York by Claude McKay. Fourth poem is called A Nest Full of Stars by James Barrie. And finally our fifth poem, called Fruits by Mystical Bubble.
One of the surprising truths was that not all these poems meant about physical fruits. It could be a symbolism, how the author feels about the fruit, and many more.
Let's talk about all 5 separately, explaining the meaning of each poem.
I would love to start by explaining about the poem Fallen Apples by Tom Hansen.
Sure, go ahead.
This poem is about the fallen apples. One thing that I really love in this poem is that Tom Hansen used personification a lot. Here is an example that will show you. Dazed, drunk, still chilled from overnight cold, they blunder like sleepwalkers. Wow, that was amazing. Tom Hansen made fallen apples like as if they were people.
Yes, I agree. It is amazing. Now on to our second poem, Yellow Bowl by Rachel Contrini Flynn. It is a very complicating poem. It has some similes, such as this line, "If light pours like water into the kitchen where I sway with my tired children." That's an amazing simile.
Our third amazing poem is The Tropics of New York by Claude McKay. This poem talked about how things were back then. Bananas ripe and green, and ginger root cocoa in pots, and alligator pears, and tangerines and mangoes and grapefruit. And now it's not like that anymore, and I think the poet is expressing her feelings about how much New York has changed. A beautiful tropical to a city with busy people.
Wow. Wowie wow. Okay, on to our fourth tasty poem. A Nest Full of Stars by James Barrie is a symbolism poem. The poet saw the chicks or chicken eggs as fruits. You might want to hear this part of the poem. All swept me away and back. I blinked. I saw a whole hand of ripe bananas, nesting. I blinked. I saw a basket full of ripe oranges, nesting. I blinked. I saw a tray full of ripe naseberries, nesting. I blinked. I saw an open bag full of ripe mangoes, nesting. I blinked. I saw a mighty nest full of stars. By the way, naseberry is sapodilla plum with sweet brown flesh.
Oh, wasn't that a beautiful symbolism poem? Alright folks, one more poem, Fruits by Mystical Bubble. We were sorry we couldn't find the real poet who made this poem. This poem was for nursery kids, but we thought it was cute to share it with you. Going on, this poem told us few types of fruit, how they helped in a rhythm. And rhythm is a perfect way for nursery to read. We'll give you few lines to hear the flow of the rhythm. Some are stout, some slim, all of them unique. Good for bones, good for skin, all for good physique.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We have shown you different types of poem, and probably you didn't notice because the poem swayed you in. And why anyway, stayed fruity tuned for our next episode.